Dear friends, this is Dr. Richa Chaturvedi. I am working as a endocrinologist and a diabetologist at Miracles Mediclinic, Gurgaon. In a series of our webinars, this time we will be talking about common hormonal disorders in population. I am an endocrinologist and I deal with hormonal disorders. So what are hormones? Hormones are certain substances which are released by the glands of the body in the blood, and they are associated with the major development of the body and functioning of the body. So the common hormonal diseases, the most common of course is diabetes, that we always talk about, but in this session we will talk about diabetes a little later. So diabetes is caused by deficiency or deficient functioning of hormone called insulin. So another common hormonal disorder is thyroid disorder, where deficiency or excess of thyroid hormones can create certain problems. Now, other hormonal disorders that we commonly see are in young girls, hormonal disturbances in young girls, young women, like polycystic ovarian disease, where because of male versus female hormone ratio disturbances, women come with the problems like acne, unwanted hair growth over the body, hair fall issues, then sometimes difficulty in conceiving. So PCOD is a very common hormonal disorder in women. Another hormonal disorder is growth disorder in young children. Sometimes young children, they do not attain proper height, they are not growing properly, and this may be because of various disorders, but one important cause of not achieving normal height is growth hormone deficiency. Growth hormone is a hormone which comes from pituitary gland in the brain, and it is responsible for proper growth of children. So growth hormone disorder also, it comes in purview of endocrinology. Then there are certain hormonal diseases which cause obesity. So we will be talking about all these one by one. First of all, let us talk about thyroid disorders. So thyroid is a gland which is situated in the front part of the neck. It makes thyroid hormone, and sometimes the gland is not functioning properly, and it is producing deficient amount of thyroid hormone, and because of thyroid hormone deficiency, a condition we call hypothyroidism, a person may have problems like weight gain, like hair fall, dry skin, body pain, especially low backache and calf muscle pain, leg pain. There may be swelling over face, over feet, and there may be sometimes enlargement of the gland also. We call it goiter. There may be menstrual disturbances in women. There may be difficulty in conceiving, forgetfulness. A person is not able to focus properly, memory lapses, forgetfulness increases. So these are the problems which a person with hypothyroidism faces. So how do we diagnose hypothyroidism? If a person is having all these issues which I mentioned, or maybe deficient growth in children, and not feeling all right in any other person, feeling more cold, consistently gaining weight, body pains and aches, dry skin, swelling. So if a person is having all these symptoms, one should go for thyroid hormone checking. We normally do blood test, TSH, T4, and sometimes antibodies also, and the hormonal evaluation tells us whether a person is having hypothyroidism or not. And if a condition of hypothyroidism is diagnosed, then we start treatment with thyroid hormone tablets. Now this hormone is available in tablet forms, very economical, inexpensive tablets which usually come in a set of 100 in a bottle, and a person is supposed to take this tablet first thing in the morning, and not eat anything for half an hour and not take any other medicine along with it in the morning. And what is your dosage? This tablet comes in various strengths like 25 microgram, 50 microgram, 100 microgram. And what is your dosage? This is decided by your doctor depending on your TSH and T4 levels. And most of the times, you know, this tablet is lifelong. If a thyroid gland is improperly functioning, it is not making enough thyroid hormone, then in most cases it does not regenerate, does not recover, and thyroid hormone supplementation is required for life. So your doctor will discuss all these things with you. Sometimes this may be temporary, maybe thyroid hormone deficiency is just temporary, and after some time patient does not require thyroid hormone supplement. This mainly occurs after pregnancy. We call postpartum thyroid disorder. Sometimes if a person is requiring thyroid hormone during pregnancy, and after delivery maybe the person's requirement ends, it might happen. So depending, in some cases, some young women, as I said, the requirement may be temporary, but in many cases, I would say in most cases, the requirement is lifelong. So this was about hypothyroidism. Now let us talk about hyperthyroidism. So before moving on to hyperthyroidism, I am just reading this question which someone has sent. My TSH is 4.2. How much microgram Thyronorm tablet I can take? So if TSH is 4.2, it is just borderline. Our laboratory's upper limit is 4.2. So you know, 4.2 is just borderline. Less than 10 we consider borderline, and in some cases we do not initiate treatment. We wait and watch and do not start treatment. But if a person is having severe symptoms, or if a person is a woman is of childbearing age, or if a woman is pregnant, then in such cases we start. And about the dosage, I cannot give a blanket dosage, blanket statement. I have to look at the patient's profile, how much body weight the patient has, and whether the patient is pregnant or not. But 4.2 otherwise is a very borderline level. In most cases we will not initiate treatment at this level. And with TSH we also need to look at your T4 level, FT4 level. And if your FT4 level is absolutely alright, your TSH is just borderline, this is a condition we call subclinical hypothyroidism, which is just borderline hypothyroidism. In most cases it may not be treated. In pregnancy we are very finicky about very tight TSH control, and we like to keep it less than 2.5 in initial 3 months, and after that at least less than 3 throughout pregnancy. So in pregnancy we would treat such a TSH level. But otherwise, in a non-pregnant individual, I have to look at various other factors to decide whether the treatment has to be started or not started, or we can wait and watch. Right, so I think I have answered your question, Akansha. So what is hyperthyroidism? Thus far we talked about hypothyroidism. Hyperthyroidism is excess of thyroid hormone in body. Sometimes, the thyroid gland, this butterfly shaped gland which is there in the anterior part of the neck, it makes thyroid hormone, and sometimes because of some problem in the regulation of production of thyroid hormone, the gland starts overproduction. It produces thyroid hormone more than required by the body. So if a thyroid hormone is excess quantities, then T3, T4 hormone will be high and TSH level will be low. And in such condition, a person faces certain problems like weight loss. Everything becomes very fast in the body, like there is weight loss, metabolism is very fast, and heart beats faster. There are palpitations, like you feel as if you can hear your heart beating. Palpitations are there. Sometimes, shakiness of hands is there. Tremors are there. If we ask the patient to keep the hand like that, the hand will be shaky and the patient can't keep it steady. So, that hyper functioning of muscles of hands. And there may be sleeplessness. Patient may not be able to sleep properly. There will be anxiety, nervousness. Person cannot focus on one thing. The attention fritters and you're thinking about various things at the same time. Then again there may be menstrual disturbances. Then There may be heat intolerance. Like in hypothyroidism, there used to be cold intolerance. In hyperthyroidism, there is generally heat intolerance. A person feels more hot as compared to other people, and the person gets angry very easily. There is irritability. So and sometimes some people come with abnormally fast heart rate. We call it arrhythmia, we call it atrial fibrillation, so which is a medical emergency and it needs to be corrected immediately. So these are the kind of problems when one has in hyperthyroidism. Sometimes when a young woman has hyperthyroidism, there may be increased risk of miscarriages. A person can't contain pregnancy. Pregnancy is lost often. So these kind of problems may be there in hyperthyroidism. So in hyperthyroidism, generally the TSH is low and T3, T4 levels are high. So how do we treat hyperthyroidism? There are three ways of treating hyperthyroidism. There are certain anti-thyroid medications which are available, commonly available by the name antithyrox, neomercazole. So these are the medications which decrease the production of thyroid hormone in thyroid gland. So we can use these tablets. These are oral tablets which are to be taken once, twice or thrice in a day. A doctor will decide the dosage for you. The side effects of these tablets, whenever we are starting anti-thyroid tablets, we also have to be watchful for certain side effects. Side effects are liver disorders. These tablets may adversely affect liver function, may derange liver function tests. Other side effect is they may cause drop in your blood count, that total leukocyte count, white blood cell count, that falls, and because of that a person may be prone to getting infection. So these are the common side effects generally. Or if a person is hypersensitive and develops allergy to these tablets, that also we have to look at. So one way of treating thyroid disorder, hyperthyroid disorder, is that we give a person tablets. But if a pregnant woman develops hyperthyroidism and we have to think about the treatment, then sometimes these tablets which can cross placenta may cause certain problems in the child also. A common syndrome known as aplasia cutis syndrome, where the skin of the newborn baby is not properly formed. So we have to be very careful while giving these tablets in pregnant women. There are recommendations, we have to diligently follow those recommendations, whether to give these medications or not, and in what dosage, and there are various members of this anti-thyroid medication group, so which member we have to select in which month of pregnancy, that we have to be careful about. Then another way of treating hyperthyroidism is radioactive iodine therapy, I-131 therapy. So I-131 is a type of iodine. It is available in drops, and we calculate the dosage of these radioactive drops by doing thyroid scan, and we calculate the dose and give the patient to drink this radioactive iodine solution. And this radioactive iodine is selectively taken up by thyroid gland. It is not taken up by all the body organs, it is taken up by certain organs, mainly thyroid and salivary glands. So we give it for being taken up by thyroid glands, and once taken up by thyroid gland cells, this radioactive iodine, this hampers the function of thyroid cells and damages the thyroid cells, overactive thyroid cells. So that way these radioactive iodine drops are able to bring about normal thyroid function and able to suppress overproduction of thyroid hormone from thyroid gland. This radioactive iodine preparation cannot be given to pregnant ladies, cannot be given to any lady who is planning to become pregnant in next 6 months, or in a breastfeeding lady, like, because for the risk of passing of this radiation into breast milk, we do not give it to ladies who are breastfeeding. So radioactive iodine was the second mode of treating hyperthyroid disorder. The third mode is surgery. We do thyroidectomy. We take out either a whole of thyroid gland or a part of thyroid gland, so that the gland is not over functioning now, and makes the hormone as required by the body. Or we can do at times, many a times we do total thyroidectomy, so that the whole of thyroid gland is taken out. Then body becomes deficient in thyroid hormone, but we can supplement this hormone from outside, which is available in a tablet form, as discussed earlier. And treating hypothyroidism, thyroid hormone deficiency, is always easier as compared to treating hyperthyroidism. Sometimes our hyperthyroid patients, they develop certain eye disorders, like there is bulging of eyes, there is redness of eye. So we have to see if a person is developing eye disorder or not, along with hyperthyroid disorder. If eye disorders are there, then the treatment is different. For that eye problem, we have to give steroid injections. Sometimes some other injections are available that we have to give. So looking at a patient of hyperthyroidism, in an overall way, we can decide whether only an anti-thyroid treatment is required, or we need treatment for eye also. So this is about thyroid disorder. Now let us talk about another common hormonal disorder, which is polycystic ovarian disorder, hormonal disturbances in young girls and young women. See, every individual has both types of hormone, male as well as female. Females will obviously have more of female hormone and less of male hormone. Sometimes because of certain disturbances in the body, like the commonest is formation of certain cysts in the body. These cysts, they start producing little more of male hormone, so that body's male versus female hormone ratio is disturbed. And because of that disturbed ratio, a woman may develop acne, those pimples over face, over back, sometimes over arms, unwanted hair growth over face, upper lip, chin, other parts of the body like midline, chest, breast, abdomen, back, thighs. These are the body areas where generally women do not have hair. Because of certain hormonal disturbances, hair may start appearing on such places, and which is because of hormonal disturbance, and it requires treatment. So unwanted hair growth may be there, and there may be hair fall over the head, like hair are appearing on other parts of the body, but from the head they are falling. This is also manifestation of excess male hormone in a female body. Then there may be difficulty in conceiving, there may be menstrual irregularity of any kind. Their periods don't come, or they come very, very often, every 15 days, every 7 days a person starts having periods, or they don't come at all. So all these conditions, there are certain hormonal investigations that we do. We do the ultrasound of ovaries and uterus to look at this number and size of the cysts, to make a diagnosis of polycystic ovarian disease. And this ultrasound has to be done at a typical time. Generally we ask, when your period starts, that will be day 1. So day 2, day 3 or day 4, generally we ask for this ultrasound to look at ovaries better in a more scientific way, so that we can delineate, can define the size and shape of these cysts I am talking about. So and then there are certain blood investigations that we ask for, like your male hormone level, total testosterone level. There is another important hormone, 17-hydroxyprogesterone, LH level, FSH levels. These levels are also done at a particular time of period, 2nd, 3rd or 4th day of pregnancy. So based on the reports, based on your blood test reports, based on your symptoms, based on your ultrasound report, we make a diagnosis of polycystic ovarian disease, and accordingly we give the treatment. Treatment is always requirement based. Like there are women who only present with acne problem. There are women who only present with menstrual disorders. There are women who only present with hair problems. And some people have combination of these, all these problems. So what is your requirement that decides our treatment. And there are hormonal treatment, there are hormonal and non-hormonal, both types of treatment for this condition. And treatment generally is long term. And it has lot to do with body weight also. Generally our PCOD patients, they also have higher body weight, they are overweight. And when a girl is overweight, the severity of hormonal disturbance generally increases. What happens when in your body fat, generally female hormone gets converted to male hormone, which adds to the problem. So it is important that a woman maintains optimal weight to control hormonal disturbances better. So whenever we treat polycystic ovarian syndrome, the first thing that we write is optimal weight maintenance or weight reduction if required. So weight reduction, good lifestyle, low carb diet, low fat diet, regular physical activity. Then there are certain medications which may help in losing weight. So we try those medications also in our suitable candidates. Then as I said, we give hormonal pills for acne, for unwanted hair growth. There are anti-male hormone tablets which help in hair growth issues and hair fall issues. So the treatment is generally long term, and if there is a problem, there's difficulty in conceiving, then there are tablets which can help in egg production. So ovulation induction is done. So there are various types of therapies which is determined by your presenting symptom. So this was about a very common hormonal disorder, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So my one message is that maintain optimal weight. Generally today we are seeing children, young women coming with very high body weight and overweight condition, which increase your hormonal disturbance problem. So rather than receiving hormonal therapy for all these problems, I would say try weight reduction. Take care of your lifestyle so that you can control just by lifestyle modification these hormonal disturbances, which is possible in some cases. And in all cases it always helps. You may require treatment also, but along with that, weight reduction always helps. Alright, so now after PCOD, let us talk about growth disorders. Suppose we have a child who is not growing properly. Like all other classmates are having better height than this child in question. The child is the shortest in the class, or maybe the siblings of the child are having normal height, or they are growing properly, but this child is not growing properly. So then we have to do certain tests in this child. We have certain growth charts in which we plot the child's height, child's weight, and we can compare with the normal population, like as compared to normal children of this age, this race, whether the child is developing properly or not. So through these growth charts, we know our child is below average or sometimes above average. So if the child is not growing properly, is achieving below normal height, we call it less than 3rd percentile or less than 5th percentile, then we ask for certain tests. First of all, we talk about nutrition, whether the child is eating properly, or child is interested in eating only high caloric junk foods and not eating nutritional items. So we have to take dietary history of the child. Then like certain disorders, like we just talked about thyroid disorder, that may also cause height disorders, not attaining proper height deficiency. Then in some cases, although I would say it's not a very common disorder, but growth hormone deficiency, it may be there in a child. So there are certain tests that we ask for, like IGF-1 level is one test. Then growth hormone dynamic study is a kind of blood test. So we ask for certain tests and try to find out whether this child has growth hormone deficiency or not. If the child has growth hormone deficiency, then growth hormone injections are available, which are to be taken on daily basis. They are generally available in a pen form, and if you have seen somebody taking insulin injections, in the same way they are subcutaneous injections, and an older child can take himself or herself. So we tell you the dosage and how many clicks you have to rotate, and how much dosage you have to take, and child can take it every day, same time every day. Generally we say take it bedtime, for the sake of remembering this. So growth hormone injections, they are generally very costly injections, and the monthly cost of therapy is generally more than 10,000, somewhere between 10 to 25,000 a month. But if a child is growth hormone deficient, then this is the only therapy which can help child. There are no tablets available. There are many times I see so many advertisements which are fraudulent advertisements, like take this tablet and child will gain height. It does not happen. If there is a nutritional deficiency, there is a vitamin deficiency, you give certain supplements, vitamins, so that would help the child. If there is thyroid deficiency, give thyroid tablets. But if there is growth hormone deficiency, so the growth hormones are available only in injectable forms, and if a child has growth hormone deficiency, we have to give these growth hormones, and generally these are given long term. It also depends at what stage of development child has come to us, before puberty or maybe 15-16 years of age. Sometimes there is height disorder and there is puberty disorder also. So what all hormones are to be given to the child depends on the age of the child and stage of puberty child is in. So growth hormone deficiency is one more disorder which is related to hormone. Now another disorder is I would say Cushing's disease. This is a hormonal disorder, and sometimes it causes obesity. General obesity is because of genetic obesity. A person is, most of the times, if it is not because of diet, if one is taking too high calorie diet, person obviously will gain weight. Body will not be able to burn all those calories, and the calorie will be deposited. So that's how a person gains weight. Sometimes some people have genetic obesity. They are carrying genes for obesity, so that their metabolism is slow. Body tends to deposit all the calorie that has been taken and does not burn it properly. So for genetic obesity, we tell about certain diet modifications, certain medications may help. But there are certain hormonal diseases which may also cause obesity, like Cushing's disease, which is a disease of cortisol hormone excess. So if we find that a person has symptoms suggestive of Cushing's disease, like red lines over your abdomen, a person is having central obesity, and there are red stria, red lines, there is mooning of face, there is the cheeks are bulging, and there is redness over cheek, and there is easy bruisability. A person gets hurt easily, like if he has somehow struck the hand against a hard surface, and very soon there is blueness or redness of that area, very thin skin. So these are the features which indicate towards Cushing's disease. In that case, we ask for cortisol test in the morning and evening, 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. There are certain other tests we do, and cortisol excess may be because of a tumor in pituitary gland, maybe because of a tumor in adrenal gland. So after proper imaging studies, CT of pituitary and MRI of pituitary and CT of adrenal glands, we make a diagnosis and accordingly treat. Generally the treatment is surgical. Now coming to the most common hormonal disorder, which is diabetes. Like diabetes is because of deficient functioning of this hormone called insulin, and diabetes could be of various types. The common types that we see are type 2 diabetes, that we generally see in adults. These days we are seeing in children also, but commonly in adults. Then type 1 diabetes, which is common in younger individual but may occur at any age. And in type 1 diabetes, insulin is mandatory. These people do not respond to oral tablets for diabetes control. Then there is a type of diabetes called gestational diabetes mellitus, which is a temporary kind of diabetes, and in many cases after the delivery has happened, it gets okay. But of course, the people who develop GDM, gestational diabetes mellitus, they are much at risk of developing frank type 2 diabetes later on. So anybody who has developed gestational diabetes has to monitor sugars regularly as told by your doctor. We do GTT after 4 to 12 weeks after delivery to find out whether you have latent diabetes, smoldering diabetes, and it has not become frank, but there are signs of diabetes. So gestational diabetes, which we treat by diet modification, medical nutrition therapy, and sometimes by insulin. Then there are some other forms of diabetes which may be due to certain drugs. Like many times very commonly we see in transplant patients. These transplant patients, to suppress their immunity, they receive immunosuppressive drugs like steroids. Steroids, they have the side effect of causing diabetes. So this secondary diabetes, steroid-induced diabetes, we commonly see in patients who have had liver transplant or kidney transplant. And the treatment differs in all types of patients. As I said, type 1 diabetes, they require insulin only. Insulin can be given by injection or by insulin pump. So depending on the patient and patient's requirement, we decide. Insulin pumps are costly, but they're very otherwise very convenient. The person doesn't have to prick himself or herself so many times. And the pump does the, by a remote control, you can operate that, and as much dosage as is advised by your doctor, you can just by pushing the button, you can take that. So and type 2 diabetes we treat by tablets, and later on when the person is not responding to tablets, then we give insulin. Gestational diabetes we treat by lifestyle modification and by diet and by insulin. This steroid-induced diabetes, that again it will depend on the sugar level. Sometimes we are able to control with tablets, and many times we have to give insulin injections. So friends, this was about hormonal disorders, common hormonal disorders found in population. Thank you for watching.